Chosen one, listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is not motivational talk, not a compliment, not something you say to make someone feel good. This is revelation. You are more than you are right now. And that is not an insult. It is a warning to the limitations that have been trying to hold you where you no longer fit. Lately you've been feeling it, haven't you? That strange pressure in your chest. That silent frustration with your own potential. That sense that something inside you is too big for the life you're currently living. Not because your life is small, but because your spirit has outgrown it. You've been pacing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, feeling like your soul is trying to walk into a room your body hasn't entered yet. That is not restlessness. That is expansion. The universe has been trying to introduce you to the next version of yourself, but you keep trying to negotiate with the old one. And the old one is terrified, because it knows that the moment you step fully into who you're becoming, everything that used to control you evaporates. The shame stops working. The fear stops working. The guilt stops working. The people who used to manipulate your empathy lose access instantly. You become untouchable by the things that once broke you. And the part of you that still clings to your old identity knows it. That's why you've been tired without reason, restless without chaos, hungry without knowing for what. You're not lost. You're not confused. You're preparing. You're molting out of an old self you've outlived. You are more than you are now, and every cell in your body knows it before your mind does. That's why nothing familiar feels right anymore. That's why the rooms you used to fit in now feel tight. That's why the people who once felt like home now feel like history. You're not breaking down. You're breaking upward. And the world is about to see a version of you that even you haven't met yet. You've been feeling this pressure inside you because the person you're becoming has already outgrown the person you had to be to survive. And that inner tension isn't confusion. It's evolution trying to force its way through old armor. The identity you walk in today wasn't born from truth. It was constructed in emergencies, shaped by instability, betrayal, and the constant need to manage other people's emotions just to stay safe. You learned to shrink so no one felt threatened, to stay quiet so no one felt exposed, to overgive so no one abandoned you. And that survival identity carried you through seasons you were never meant to die in. But now your soul is trying to expand into a space your old self can't enter. And that's why familiar environments feel suffocating. Why conversations drain you instantly. Why you feel a silent scream in your spirit every time you pretend to be the version of you that kept everything peaceful but kept you small. You're not losing yourself. You're shedding the self you built in fear so the self built in truth can finally breathe. The discomfort, the restlessness, the sudden intolerance for anything that wastes your energy is happening because your next level isn't compatible with the behaviors, the wounds, or the people your survival self tolerated. You're stepping out of who you became and into who you actually are. There comes a moment in every chosen soul's life when the environments that once felt familiar start collapsing under the weight of who they're becoming. And you're standing in that moment right now, even if you haven't admitted it yet. The conversations you used to tolerate now feel hollow. The routines that once kept you grounded now feel like chains. The people you once protected now drain you without even trying. And it's not because you've changed randomly. It's because your spirit has crossed a threshold your life hasn't caught up to yet. You're beginning to sense that certain rooms can't hold your energy anymore, that certain people can't hear your frequency, that certain versions of you can't walk with you into the next chapter. And this isn't ego, it's alignment. Life is starting to pull away everything that dilutes you, everything that keeps you small, everything that mirrors the person you used to be instead of the one you're rising into. And even though part of you wants to hold on, another part of you knows you can't go back. The exhaustion you feel isn't from doing too much. It's from staying too long in a place your destiny has already left. Your intuition has been whispering the truth for months. You don't fit your old life because you're not meant to. You're being repositioned, recalibrated, realigned for something bigger than the roles, expectations, and identities that once shaped you. And every uncomfortable shift you feel right now is evidence that your next level is already forming around you. The life you're stepping into requires the version of you you've been hiding. Chosen one, the only reason your blessings, recognition, opportunities, and rightful elevation were delayed is because the universe refused to deliver them to a version of you who would have let the wrong people come with you, who would have apologized for success, who would have handed your power to anyone who asked gently enough. You weren't being punished, you were being protected. Every closed door was a divine block on people who loved your potential more than your presence, who wanted access to your energy but not responsibility for their own. The delay was the filtration process, clearing parasites, exposing hidden motives, burning illusions, forcing clarity, stripping you of attachments that would have sabotaged what's coming. You had to outgrow certain insecurities before you were allowed to grow into this level. You had to learn to walk alone so no one could drag you off your path again. You had to stop mistaking loyalty for self-abandonment and finally realize that peace is more important than being understood. And now that you've crossed that threshold, now that you hold your boundaries without shaking, now that you choose yourself without guilt, now that you've learned to see people's spirits instead of their stories, the timing has unlocked. The universe isn't slow, it's strategic. And the moment you became someone who wouldn't destroy the blessing trying to save the wrong person, the blessing started moving toward you with speed that will make this next chapter feel supernatural. If this message spoke to you in a way regular videos never do, I want you to mark this moment in a practical way. Under this video, you'll see a little button that says, "Thanks," or a heart symbol with a small dollar sign inside it. That is the Super Thanks button. When you tap or click that, YouTube will open a small window where you can choose an amount and then press Next or Buy to confirm through your normal Google or card details. Take your time, read the screen slowly, and only complete it if you feel peaceful about it. You're not just tipping a video. You're planting a seed into the version of yourself you're becoming, saying, "I recognize this word was for me, and I'm agreeing with it." There is someone watching you right now with a level of intensity that would unsettle you if you felt it fully. Someone whose name carries weight in rooms you've never stepped into. Someone who has spent their entire life being the one who impacts others, and yet finds themselves impacted by you in ways they can't rationalize or silence. This person has seen every facade, every performance, every perfectly curated persona, but when they study you, they can't find the mask. All they find is truth, unfiltered and unmanufactured, the kind that only comes from surviving what should have broken you. They replay the way you walk into a space without asking for approval, the way your presence shifts atmosphere without effort, the way your silence carries more gravity than most people's speeches. They've been comparing you to the polished, rehearsed, perfectly packaged candidates orbiting their world, and for the first time, the illusion of qualifications looks laughable. They can feel something ancient in you, something earned, not learned, something forged through nights nobody witnessed and decisions nobody applauded. They don't understand why their hand shakes slightly after watching you speak your truth, why their mind keeps returning to one sentence you said like it was a code unlocking a part of them they didn't know was sealed, why their instincts, usually sharp, analytical, untouchable, go quiet whenever your name crosses their thoughts. They won't admit it, not yet, but you've already altered their trajectory, disrupted their certainty, and forced them to question whether every strong person they admired was actually strong or just loud. What they feel toward you isn't attraction, admiration, or curiosity. It's recognition, the unsettling realization that they are standing in the presence of someone who carries the kind of authenticity they've been searching for their entire life and didn't believe existed anymore. There is a moment coming where everything you've survived, everything you've learned, every version of you that kept you alive will compress into a single decision that looks small from the outside but splits your entire timeline in two. And that moment won't happen in a spotlight. It won't come with music. It will show up disguised as an email, a call, an invitation, a simple, "Can we talk?" that lands heavier than it should because your spirit recognizes what your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Somewhere on the other side of a screen, that influential person is hovering over your name, rereading your words, replaying your voice, comparing the feeling they get when they think of you to the numbness they feel when they look at the safer option, the polished candidate, the textbook perfect choice who will never disrupt anything or change anyone. They know choosing you means volatility, honesty, depth, transformation that can't be controlled. They know your presence will force their whole system, team, structure, brand, audience to evolve or fall away, and that both excites and terrifies them. At the exact same time, you will feel it in your body, the sudden tightening in your chest, the random wave of emotion, the urge to check your phone for no logical reason, because your soul feels the timeline shifting before the confirmation arrives. One path keeps you close to what you know, repeating the same patterns with slightly better scenery, slightly higher income, slightly shinier distractions. The other path throws you into the unknown with nothing but your healed instincts, your scars, and the quiet knowing that you were never meant to live at the level you settled for when you were just trying to survive. This is the moment where you either shrink back into the role the world wrote for you, or step into the role your spirit has been rehearsing for in secret, the one where you stop asking for permission to exist at full capacity. And when their finger finally taps, yes, on your name, the universe isn't just approving an opportunity, it's locking in a new reality where you're more than you are now stops being a painful truth and starts becoming a lived fact. If you don't just want to watch from a distance, but you feel like, this is my people, this is my tribe, this is my message, then I want you to also know there is a join button for a closer level of connection. On most phones, tablets, or computers, you'll see a blue or white button that says Join either right under the video or right next to the channel name and picture. When you click Join, YouTube will show you in simple steps what it means to become a channel member, the monthly amount, the little badge next to your name in the comments, and sometimes extra videos or deeper sessions that aren't posted publicly. You can read everything first, and if it feels right in your spirit, you just press Join again and follow the instructions like you would for any normal online payment. And if at any time in the future you want to stop, you can cancel it inside your YouTube account. You are always in control. The wild thing about elevation is that your environment can change faster than your inner dialogue if you're not conscious. And that's exactly where you'll be tested next. Doors will open, rooms will receive you, opportunities will call your name. Yet an old voice in your head will whisper, "Are you sure you belong here?" Not because you're unqualified, but because every past version of you was trained to feel like an intruder in spaces you were always destined to inhabit. You'll catch yourself scanning faces, reading energy, looking for any sign that someone thinks you're not enough, because for years you survived by anticipating rejection before it arrived. But here's the shift. In this new chapter, that reflex turns against you if you don't retire it. The people in these rooms aren't asking the questions you think they're asking. They're not wondering if you're deserving. They're wondering how someone who's lived through what you've lived through still carries that much clarity, that much weight, that much grounded power. While you're busy doubting your readiness, they're busy recalibrating their own standard because your presence exposes every place they've been performing instead of becoming. The impostor syndrome that flares up isn't proof you're out of place. It's proof you've stepped beyond every old reference point you used to measure yourself with. You're not more nervous because you're smaller than the space. You're more nervous because, for the first time, the space actually matches your true capacity, and your system doesn't know how to feel safe without shrinking. This is where you start talking to yourself differently, not like someone trying to hype themselves up, but like someone finally telling the truth. I'm not lucky to be here. This room is lucky I said yes. There will be a day that feels normal on the surface. Same clothes, same sky, same routine, but something in the air will feel heavier, and you won't know why until it happens. The call, the meeting, the sit-down where the influential person finally steps out from behind the scenes and speaks to you directly. Not through a DM, not through a vague offer, but eye to eye, presence to presence, spirit to spirit. They'll start with practical questions, background, experience, what you've done so far. But it won't take long before the conversation shifts, because they didn't come to you for information, they came to you for confirmation. At some point they'll say something that hits you harder than any compliment you've ever received, something along the lines of, "You know you're operating way below what you're capable of, right?" And the words will make you want to laugh and cry at the same time, because you've always felt that silently but never had anyone say it out loud without envy or mockery attached. They won't be impressed by your highlight reel. They'll be disturbed by how much of your power you've kept hidden just to be digestible. They'll ask why your story isn't louder, why your work isn't wider, why your voice isn't already in rooms where it clearly belongs. And all the excuses you used to believe will start sounding flimsy even to you. You'll feel that internal conflict rising, the part of you that still thinks you're not ready arguing with the part of you that knows you've been ready for years. As they talk, you'll realize something wild. This conversation isn't about convincing them you're enough, it's about them trying to understand why you haven't been living like you are. They see the blueprint of your next level more clearly than you do, because they're looking at you without the filter of your old wounds. They're not seeing the version of you that had to beg for crumbs, prove your worth, and survive betrayal. They're seeing the architect, the leader, the voice, the force. And when they say, "What I'm building needs what you carry," you'll feel the last layer of your old identity crack. Because deep down you've always known you're more than you are now. You just haven't had life mirror it back to you this directly. That conversation becomes the moment your potential stops being a secret you feel, and becomes a responsibility you can't ignore. Elevation doesn't just change you, it exposes them. The moment you start stepping into the more you were always meant to be, everyone connected to you is forced into a choice. Evolve with you, or quietly fall away. At first it will feel subtle. Certain people will stop calling as often, not because you did anything wrong, but because your new boundaries make their old behavior impossible. Jokes that used to land now feel disrespectful. Conversations that used to be gossip now feel like poison. You'll notice who gets uncomfortable when you speak about your vision with clarity instead of apologizing for it, who changes the subject when you mention new doors opening, who suddenly acts distant when they realize you're no longer available to be their emotional dumping ground. And then there are the ones who underestimated you, the ones who thought you'd always stay where they left you. Those people will start hearing your name in rooms they didn't know you had access to, seeing your face on platforms they assumed were out of your reach, watching you operate in spaces they never imagined you could enter without their approval. Some will pretend not to notice, but their energy will tell on them. The sudden passive-aggressive comments, the subtle shade, the "you changed" accusations that really mean, "You stopped prioritizing my comfort over your calling." Others will try to reattach themselves with fake support once they realize your little growth season turned into a permanent shift. They'll talk like they believed in you the whole time, conveniently forgetting the times they minimized your pain, dismissed your ideas, or mocked your attempts to heal. Your job in this chapter is not to drag anyone with you, not to prove you're still the same, not to dim yourself to make their insecurity feel safe. Your job is to let your expansion rearrange the entire map of your connections, trusting that whoever is meant to walk with the more you are now will show up with their own growth, their own accountability, their own elevation. Those who weren't built to handle your next level will quietly disqualify themselves, and that isn't loss, that's clarity. At some point the cinematic moments calm down, and what you're left with is the new normal. Waking up as the version of you used to daydream about and realizing this isn't a high, it's a standard. It won't look like fireworks every day. It will look like choosing differently in the smallest places. You'll catch yourself responding to old triggers with a calm that would have scared your former self. You'll feel opportunities coming, and you won't immediately assume they're too big or not for someone like me. You'll start asking, "Does this honor who I am now?" instead of, "Will they accept me?" Your schedule will change. Less time spent explaining your heart to people committed to misunderstanding it. More time building what actually matters. Your body will feel different. That constant anxious tightness will start loosening, replaced by a quiet internal strength that doesn't need to prove itself to anyone. You'll notice how your creativity flows when you're no longer trying to squeeze it through the filter of other people's expectations. How your ideas come faster now that you've stopped asking permission to express them. The mirror will stop being a place of war and become a place of recognition. You'll look at yourself and finally see the combination of softness and power, vulnerability and authority, humanity and divinity you always suspected lived inside you but couldn't access fully. Even rest will feel different. You won't be collapsing from exhaustion. You'll be intentionally recharging because you actually value your energy now. And in quiet moments, you'll remember the version of you that never thought this level of peace, purpose, and presence was possible, and you'll feel a wave of gratitude so deep it almost hurts. Because this is the part no one talks about. The real miracle isn't the platform, the influence, or the recognition. The real miracle is that you finally became the more you always felt but couldn't reach when you were trapped in survival. You're not chasing your future self anymore. You're walking as them. Here's the truth you were always circling around but never fully landed on until now. That haunting sentence, "You're more than you are now," was never a criticism of what you've done. It was a prophecy over what you're capable of. The frustration you felt with your own life wasn't self-hate. It was your spirit refusing to accept a version of you that was too small for the assignment on your name. Every time you felt like you didn't belong in low vibrational spaces, you were right. Every time you felt suffocated by environments everyone else called normal, you were right. Every time you knew you were built for more, but had no evidence to support it, you were still right. You weren't arrogant, you were early. And now, as doors open, as impact spreads, as your presence starts altering rooms you used to feel invisible in, you're going to understand why the path had to be so brutal, why the betrayals had to sting that deep, why the isolation had to last that long. It wasn't to break you. It was to strip everything off you that couldn't come with a more you are now. This chapter is your answer season, your confirmation season, your I wasn't crazy, I was called season. And as you move through it, there's one thing you have to promise yourself. Never again will you negotiate your bigness down to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. Never again will you pretend to be less wise, less intuitive, less gifted, less aware just to keep the peace. Never again will you confuse humility with disappearing. The world doesn't need a dimmed-down version of you. It needs the real thing at full voltage. So if this message hit that deep place in you that's been waiting for a sign, take it personally. Let this be the moment you stop flirting with your potential and finally commit to it. And if you needed something practical to mark the shift, treat it like a covenant with your future. Subscribe so this frequency stays in your atmosphere. Share it so other chosen ones remember who they are. And if your spirit is screaming, "This is me," use the super thanks as your public declaration that you're done living below what you carry. Not because a video needs engagement, but because your destiny needs a decision. You are more than you are now, and from this moment forward, your life is going to start proving it. If you felt like I was telling your story out loud, I want you to do 3 simple things that help this message reach other people your age who feel the same but don't have the words for it. First, press the thumbs up or like button under the video that tells YouTube this was helpful. Second, press the red subscribe button under the video or on the channel page. After you press it, a small bell icon appears. Tap the bell and choose all so you don't miss future messages like this. Third, if someone came to your mind while you were listening, a friend, a son or daughter, a grandchild, someone who is hurting, tap the share button. It usually looks like an arrow, then choose WhatsApp, Messenger, SMS, or simply copy link and send it to them. That's how you quietly become part of the mission. You don't just receive the word, you help deliver it to the next chosen one who needs it.